Yes, everyone, welcome back tonight. How you guys are doing? I thought I'd do something a little bit different tonight. Been a while since I've done like a Q&A live stream. I was looking at the last time I did one, and this was like over a year ago, and I couldn't believe it actually because I used to do these quite regularly. So yeah, I feel like it's been a long time coming this, and I want to make this a bit more consistent now, like at least once a week, twice a week sometimes, you know what I mean? But obviously, it's a massive month for the club right now. A lot of us want to see some smart recruitment. I don't think many of us want to see desperate recruitment right now for the squad, right? We want to see some smart recruitment that can at least aid us into securing top four and hopefully get some silverware in the FA Cup or domestic at least. I think that's what our goals are for this season. And I feel like that really should be the plan right now. But honestly, it's great to see some of you guys here. Apologies for being a little bit late. What can I say? I had to eat. I came back from gym. Food took a bit longer than I expected. Yeah. Next time in the future, I'm gonna just always extend the time I say I'm gonna be online. I'm always giving times I know I can't meet. It's such a bad habit of mine. But it's great to see some of you guys here. How you all doing tonight? Omo, how you doing, man? First, yes, Zach. Imzy, what's good, bro? Claude, Kelly, how are you, Kelly? Yo, big up Nini for the Friday night stream, not complaining at all. You know, I was kind of thinking to myself that most of you guys are probably going to be like in bed or chilling or doing nothing tonight. So why not do like a bit of like a late night stream? We can talk a bit of ball. You can ask me any questions you want. I can answer them. And I'll be on for like the next hour at least because, yeah, obviously match day tomorrow. Got other projects I'm working on. Yeah, I told myself 2025 is going to be a different mentality. You know what I mean? I feel like I need to just really like, do absolute bits with the channel this year. Not even just the channel, but my health as well too. Obviously, gym. I'm doing late nights on a Friday. I never thought I'd be that guy. But 2025, man, new rules. How you guys all doing? Good to see you here. Phineas, Juris, love your channel, bro. Watching you from Delaware. Thank you, bro. Emmanuel, talk about Newsman there. Is the news of Chelsea. Okay, bro. Get you for 40 million. Does that mean we're only going to have to pay 32 million? Or do they want to cash out at 30, at 40? Well, I did release a video today. It did explain what was going on. Obviously, yeah, I suggest that you watch that, bro, to be honest with you. But it does seem like there's still a lot of talks that could potentially include players going the other way. But at the moment, 40 million based on the secret source that the Athletic have been able to, get access to. He suggests that it could be around 40 million that gets Crystal Palace talking. So that seems to be a reasonable figure. And if we waiver off the release clause our way, maybe we have to pay that on top. I feel like this is how we secure the guy that we want for this summer, right? So, yeah, it's pretty interesting, pretty exciting. But anyway, I got my first super chat here from Phineas. Yes, Phineas, get the likes up, people. Thanks for that, bro. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, much love to you, bro. Thanks for that, man. But you guys, come on, I'm here for the next hour. Get your questions coming in. I want to know what you guys are saying, how you're feeling about the window, what's on your minds. Yeah, I want to gauge how you guys are feeling about everything right now, to be honest with you. So definitely come at me with the questions tonight, man. Tarjeen, turn up your mic, Nini. You're a bit low. Do you guys find me a bit low? I get that sometimes, but I get a bit confused as to why, because I feel like my side, everything is running quite calm. Can you guys hear me okay, or am I sounding a bit too... Let me see. Let me look at my properties, actually. I mean, it says everything's fine here. Can you guys hear me a bit better now? Yeah, let me know. But Phineas, bro, thanks for that, man. Rayan really thought Kusanov could have been a bargain for us, but City are going to be City. Well, Man City actually first started holding contact with Kusanov in 2024. So this is a long-term target. It makes a lot of sense. You know, clubs a lot of times are putting in groundwork for time, you know. Like, to us fans, he's like an unknown property until his exploits for Rennes this season. But for clubs with massive scouting networks and radars and agents and all that malarkey, like, they know who these guys are before we do, and they would have heard about them a long time ago. But I think this Kusanov defender looks very impressive, I have to say. A bit of that Rudiger style defender. Seems to know how to use his body, very aggressive. He does the simple things for a very high level. Yeah, he's going to be really reinforcing that City defense. So City aren't playing in the window right now. Man City are looking to make sure they guarantee CL football, and they're reacting. And I feel like because City are reacting, is that forcing our owners now to feel like they must react too? Because now the competition to secure CL has got that much higher now. So that's how I'm seeing things at the moment. Anyway, William, Maraska said we don't need a centre-back. He did say that, but he also said in the press conference that he likes Guy. He also says that he likes Chalobah. But the reason why he's playing it smart is because what if we're not able to secure someone? You're going to look like a fool if you start bigging up players that we haven't secured yet. When things are still in the conversation state, you can't be getting too gassed and carried away. So try and like read between the lines a little bit. Anyway, Moritz, what's your realistic transfers for this window? Oh, now if you asked me at the start of the window, I had in my head Andre Santos returning back. And I had in my head that we'd sign a lone striker, maybe like a Kolo Muani or something. I've got a video that I've already made. I'm just waiting for the right time to release it. I think maybe Sunday's the best time to release the top 5 striker targets. I go through a list of 5 different options. That'll be like a long-term option, short-term option, hidden gem, plan B, and like superstar for the transfer window this month. So I'm happy with the video. Did a lot of research, put a lot of thought into it. It's taken me some time, so I'm hoping you guys are gonna like it when it comes out. I think maybe Sunday morning is what I'm actually targeting now. That can make the most sense. Anyway, Jonathan Carmichael, yes, Jonathan, how you doing, man? Any updates on the goalkeeper? I feel like that's what we need. Currently, there's no updates. The only latest updates we've heard have been around Grigor Kobel. They came out from German journalists who were suggesting that we're looking to maybe potentially explore a move for him in the summer. Not right now. And to be fair, I don't think we have to. I think Kobel he's had a few difficulties this season. It's not been his best season. Doesn't mean that his class has gone away. I think he needs a new environment now. Maybe mentally he's feeling like Dortmund now, who are 6th at the moment. They can't match his professional ambitions. But that is a target I feel that you go for in the summer. Because I think Robert Sanchez, he's been quite reliable. I think Jorgensen, he's trying to make an impression, the kids. He's trying to show that he can compete at this level, he can perform. And I feel like we can't just always be in this state of flux where, we feel like every flipping window, there has to be someone that signs. I'm at a point right now where we've signed a ridiculous amount of players. So since the owners have taken over, nearly like 50 players, for God's sake. And I'm getting sick and tired of guys having such a short shelf life and being surplus requirements. It makes me question the style of recruitment at times. And I don't like this strategy that it basically foreshadows, that essentially says, listen, if we want to buy someone, we have to constantly keep doing this, player recruitment, buying and selling to buy other players. I just feel like in the long term, if it doesn't work out on the pitch here, which is what you're doing this all for, right? Success in the field. It's going to bite you in the ass. It's going to make you look like a bit of a fool. And it might make future targets kind of doubt whether, you say what you say, whether your words really means anything. So I don't know. But your whole strategy is based on signing young players under 23. That surely implies that you have to also wait for them to develop. And I know it's like a very boring answer that us fans don't like to hear because, listen, we have short-term ambitions every season. We invest our time into the game. We want to see success in the field, right? We want to see our investment of time doing something, right? But realistically, when you look at most of the top players in the world, they weren't ready at 22 or 23. I feel like there's this recent obsession in football. There's a nice Twitter account, AC Milan fan, who, was kind of touching upon some sentiments I've always felt, like this utter desperation to constantly buy young for overinflated fees. All these squads are full of youngsters who, they're not even like fully developed themselves yet. They don't have the experience around them. They also still need that. They still need that time, no matter how promising they look for right now. So I just don't really understand what the players, maybe it's time to re-strategize. Maybe it's time to maybe calm down with the under-23 signings, trust what you have at the moment, and maybe turn towards players who are pre-peaking. You know, they were 24-year-olds to 26-year-olds, you know what I mean? Maybe buy the occasional 28-year-old, 29-year-olds. I mean, for God's sake, these football players are playing past their mid-30s right now. You know, this whole thing that once you turn 30 is a bit of a dirty word. It just doesn't make any sense anymore. I look at Mohamed Salah. He ain't going to be going away anytime soon, Salah. With how fit he is and how he looks after himself and how he plays with his head, he's going to be playing for a long time. So, I don't know. To maybe like boost up what we're doing to hit those short-term goals, do we consider now buying a bit of experience? I wouldn't be opposed to that. But anyway, Christian Cabrera, how you doing, my guy? Long time, man. Damn, my brother, doing an old school stream. Brother, we got to link up the Chelsea, bro. I've been so terrible. I know that you was about in London at some point. If you are, let me know. But you guys, I'm going to be going to the Club World Cup. I'm going to be hitting Miami, man. I'm actually so gassed. It's one of the other reasons why I'm doing late night gym sessions, because I'm thinking, you know what? I was looking at myself on my videos over the years. I'm like, raw. I've really not changed enough. And it really like put my whole like years into perspective. I was just like, nah. Like if I'm going to be getting to a stage right now where marriage is going to be coming soon and kids around the horizon, nah, man, I need to do things a bit different. So yeah, bro, good to see you here, man. I'm surprised to even see you here, but love, bro. Anyway, Paul, let me go through some of the questions now. Thank you for the super chat. So it's the best way to get your question prioritized. We're going to have quite a few questions, but you guys in the chat who are involved, don't think that I'm here to just ignore you guys. You know what I mean? Just incredible. Thoughts on Armando Broja's future now? Oh, Broja, man. I feel so sorry for this kid, man, honestly. Like, Broja he was the original Liam Delap. Yeah, he was the original Liam Delap with all the hype. We saw what he did at Southampton. And just the cruelty of injuries, you know? That's the ultimate thing that can derail your career, slow your progress down. And it's done so much to limit his game time. And I feel like when your body's not completely conditioned to playing football 90 minutes week in, week out, when you've been out for a long time with these injuries too, I feel like you're always a bit susceptible to breaking down at some very inconvenient points. So I really feel for him. And you know, I see some of the fan reactions sometimes. People can be a bit mean, man. Like, you think this guy is not already hurting, and man are trying to tell him, you know, this guy's always breaking down all the time. Get rid of him, blah, blah, blah. Hey, that's professional sports, right? But, yeah, man, I feel for him. But, yeah, I think since actually his injury under, I think, was it Poch? I think that kind of ruled out his Chelsea career, sadly. It came at the worst time possible. Anyway, Abdul, we need an elite centre-back or have patience for Guy and Colwell growth. Guy isn't the answer to our problems for next season. Hopefully the board can look over the financial benefit. I'm curious. I'm going to flip this question back to you, man. Who are like some of the star centre-backs you're going for? Obviously, Arujo to Juventus on loan is a possibility, right? We were linked with him as well. Barcelona needs to register. I think they just registered Olmo and their striker, Pau Victor. Christensen's come back now. They got Kubrasi, they got other guys in defense. I think they're sacrificing Arujo because of his wages, and you know, get him off the wage bill opens up the possibilities to register more players. Do we make a last minute move potentially? It's interesting that we didn't consider maybe a loan move for Arujo, you know, but Juventus at the same time, they put a lot of groundwork for this move. It's not the first time that Juventus have been linked with a move for Arujo. This has been a consistent thing for the last 12, 18 months. So, you know, consistency pays off in the market. It really does. Delani, good show. Real Chelsea fan. Appreciate that, man. I feel I need to start doing a lot more streams. I'm really thinking about how to revamp my content. I don't know. I've always had this fear that I give off the wrong perception about myself. Maybe on socials and other things. You know, people will say things about me that's I wouldn't really say is fair. Or is really what I'm about. But maybe it's because I'm not selling myself properly. Maybe I'm not helping my perception. You know what I mean? So yeah, as you get older, you just start to rethink everything that you do. And yeah, this is what I mean. 2025 is a big year for me. Anyway, Abulo, we need a good striker, people, who can give goals not defenders. Yes, we need defenders, but if I will look, but a striker is needed. And yeah, Abdullah, I 100% agree with you. Delap's a very interesting one. Obviously, City have the buyback fee, but that I don't know what the amount is for though. Is it like 40 million? I think, if I'm correct. Would that mean that Ipswich couldn't necessarily like ask way more above that market rate? Obviously, Aston Villa, they slapped on an 80 million euro valuation on John Duran. They're telling the rest of Europe, listen, we don't want to sell this guy. And I know John Duran's a bit frustrated at Villa, but it's really starting to feel like the second half of the season, he could probably be the #1 striker at Villa. I feel like a lot of Villa fans are kind of clocking onto John Duran's improvement in his game. He's really improved quite a lot in terms of how he mentally moves on the fields. He offers a few things that Watkins can't do, and he has a ton of plus side to be a much better striker than Watkins, who's already like a really good, European class striker in my opinion. Makes you think, should we have decided to go for a move? Hey, listen, I mean, we can't forget the reason why the John Duran move flopped was because Conor Gallagher didn't go to Aston Villa in the other way. Remember, Villa, we accepted a £57 million bid from Aston Villa, and that was going to involve John Duran going the other way, and Gallagher said, no, I'm not going to go to Aston Villa. And why would he? He's at Atleti. He wants to win things, right? Moving on. Stefan McCormack. Jay Yoga is in. Pachacuti, the great warrior. We need to buy Jamal or Wirtz or Frimpong to the right back, Davis left back, and a super striker. That's interesting. But going back to the previous question, obviously, I think a striker is key. I think a plan B striker is what I'm going for. Honestly, I feel like there's enough in the squad to potentially get top 4. I think Maresca will have to be bold at certain times. Go back to what he was doing successfully for us at the first half of this season. Trust the team. Get that midfield player. Lavia coming back is a great thing for the squad right now. Defender, listen, if he really is desperate for Guy, I'm okay with accelerating our efforts to get him. It is what it is. But I think that striker, but preferably a plan B one. I've always kind of been more enamored by, those like Demba Ba, Loic Remy, Anelka style moves where they're here for like 2-3 years. You can rely upon them. When they play, they're not going to score every week, but they're going to come with an important goal as a sub. They're going to be giving your main striker fierce competition. And there's this instant reliability you can get from them. I don't think we should be completely opposed to that type of move, especially when I think for us, if we secure CO, that opens up possibilities, like stronger ones in the summer. I don't want to be in a position where, fear makes us maybe sign a Delap who I like, but what if in the summer, Duran's open up, or Amora Dion's, or other possibilities in the market that you have to be a bit more patient for? Even the left wing options, Kvaratskhelia, who I was speaking about yesterday, I think this guy's a great player. I understand the arguments that Jadon Sancho has a similar profile, and I understand the arguments too that, Kvaratskhelia, when he won the Scudetto, he had, who was the left back? I think Mario Rui at the time, who was constantly overlapping. Like, the way they played really just accelerated and helped Kvaratskhelia even more. We have to then sign a left back that can also overlap at times too. I know Cucurella can do a pretty good job of that, you know what I mean? These are the types of moves where it's just like, I don't want to be pigeonholing myself in the January window. Get what we need to help boost what we have, then go for the serious needle movers in the summer, and there's a lot more time to prepare for them coming. You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of what we do in the market depends on whether Nkunku can leave. Because we're still very much, in a way, about moving players on to buy players. That's the issue we have when you don't have a front of shirt sponsor that guarantees you a decade's worth of money, or CL TV rights as well, and all these little things that we've been missing out on recently. You know what I mean? That's going to be important for us. But anyway, I've got a super chat here. Christophe from Canada, how you doing, man? Do you think the bench players lost belief and motivation to play for Enzo? They look tired every time. I think that's an interesting observation you're making. I say interesting because I don't know if I've necessarily seen that, because they just haven't really been turned to as much. You know what I mean? We haven't seen Felix on Kunku at times. You know, I can see what Maresca was saying post-match after that draw against Crystal Palace. He felt like at the time, and I agree, I think our pressing and our fight against Palace was pretty decent, to be honest with you. In the end, our game management cost us, and it was a silly error from Cole Palmer that he didn't have to do. And it made me realise, Lavia would have been on like 10 minutes ago in this game. He would have been alongside Moises, maybe over Enzo or Palmer, whoever. And we haven't added like foundation stability at the back. And that was the type of sub move he was making, actually. And it does feel like Maresca, because he understands the need for pressing, that's important. I think he feels more comfortable turning towards midfield players. Hence why I think we need to, recall Andre Santos, and we have to engineer something to find a replacement at Strasbourg. I mean, it's not the first time we've recalled back midfield players. We did the same thing to Cassidy. We told this guy to move on. We either bring back Ugo or I think Andre Santos and really, you know, control games better. You know, I think realistically the key to success is getting another striker that gives us something a bit different. And number two, it's our game management near the ends. I think they're the type of things that will push us on, because we lost the lead twice in a row to Fulham and Crystal Palace when it didn't feel like we were under threat too much until right near the end. In those final 20 minutes, I think I first noticed that against Brentford, who made that triple sub, brought on all their new fresh legs, really went for it, hit the crossbar, turned the gears up, and that was like, okay, is this what teams are doing now? You know, they've seen something in us where they feel like our intensity lacks off in the last 20 minutes, and this is the moment actually where you go for it. I think it's proven to be right, because we just about beat Brentford's, and we've only got 1 point in our last 2 London Derby games. So I don't know. I think you're correct about, you know, the bench is important, but I don't know if necessarily it's anything to do with a loss of belief or motivation. Maybe that's more with Maresca's thoughts on the bench he can turn to. I think if you could redirect that question back to Maresca instead of the players, actually. But yeah, I appreciate that, bro. Thank you, man. Moritz, do you think Mudryk will be banned for nearly half a year like Pogba and Onana? We're still waiting for these Plan B test results to come through. I thought they already came through. A cynical part of me feels like the test results are already concluded, but we're kind of keeping things on the wraps right now. We're trying to like mitigate any type of negative PR or looks or anything like that. And, you know, we're trying to control the narrative around what's happening. That's just like me being, you know, my conspiratory minds. I could be absolutely wrong, and please don't take anything I say as an actual fact here. But I do think on a personal note, it's a shame for Mudryk. I think the rumour was that his ex-partner must have contaminated his food or something. Other reports have suggested that maybe, you know, like the food safety standards are a bit different in Eastern Europe, XYZ. But then why did no other, you know, Ukrainian players get tested and come out positive? You know what I mean? It's a bit of a weird one. It's a bit of a weird one, to be honest. Comes at a bad time. I think Mudryk could have been an interesting option off the bench. I think he was actually, obviously the Conference League, I don't want to say it's showing his level, but at least I was seeing things in Mudryk that I haven't seen recently. You know, like he's more reliable on the ball, offering an output. You know, every game he was bringing an assist in. I felt like that's what he kind of needs. I've always felt like, even though Mudryk's like 23, he's more like a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, because he really broke into the game quite late. He got his start as a 20-year-old on a De Zerbi. And most players have played around 17, 18. So, I don't know. This is why I can understand the patience around Mudryk. He's still fit. He does have those attributes. He clearly impresses in training sessions. Maybe he's someone you just have to be a bit patient with. I don't know. But yeah, I think this temporary provisional ban is not the one right now. I mean, hopefully it's not going to be too negative, man. Anyway, Christoph, again, bro, big up NiiNiiFC. Been watching from Jamaica to Canada. Much love, man. Appreciate that, man. Let me go on. Arjun, how you doing? Yes, long-time viewer. I saw George Benson talk about Kvaratskhelia and Isak. What do you think about that? Well, I did a video on Kvaratskhelia. I think it's an interesting one. I think the reports came out today. Paris Saint-Germain said, listen, we're only offering around 40 to 50 million. I think their plan is to still involve a player in the move. Could now please say no when Kvaratskhelia is not any closer to signing a contract extension? Some reports are saying that, maybe a year ago this was an absolute no, but this season it's like, he's not as untouchable as he once was. We don't want to make another Victor Osimhen mistake in the market where everything backfired. He's on loan at Galatasaray. We didn't get anywhere near closer to release clause value, and clubs just weren't willing to pay that amount of money for him. Are they going to have to bite? Because there's pressure for them to support Conte. Conte is a vocal manager. He'll be on De Laurentiis. De Laurentiis already backed him by promising Kvaratskhelia was going to remain here at the start of this season. But Conte, he wants players that want to be here. That's what he's about. So I think Kvaratskhelia could bounce, and then Napoli will then have to get the recruitment in before the month ends. So pressure is on them to find an agreeable fee with Paris Saint-Germain. And once that fee is found, I imagine other clubs are going to come in and make moves. Obviously, Man United have also been in contact with his agent. That's the type of move I'm sure they love to make themselves as well. And I like Kvaratskhelia. I think he would be a great player, two-footed, ambidextrous. He needs that bit of freedom. I think he's a great player. But I don't know. I think for me, if I could pick my way, I think I would wait until the summer. If I want to sign like another attacking player, obviously Esteval's coming. But let's not forget the kids. Kendry's going to come. Probably gets loaned out. But you probably, if you want to sign that super like attacker, I think you wait for the summer. And I might sacrifice Kvaratskhelia. I'm going to rely upon Neto to bounce up, show more upside second half of the season. Same thing for Felix. Same thing for Sancho. And everyone we have right now. And I think for us, I'm kind of looking towards Nottingham Forest. I mean, their defensive record's been excellent. And a lot of that's a combination of the work rate, tactical discipline, game management from Nuno Santos. I feel like in games that we haven't got results, other than Ipswich, where I thought you were quite poor, to be fair with you, even though Maresca to be made chances. Listen, we did. But I felt like in other games where we didn't get results, it's because we lost control of the game for small periods compared to how we played. And that's what cost us. And I feel like reducing those margins of error, that's going to go a long way in preserving our leads, preserving our efforts in games. And I think this is what we should be tackling in the January market. I think this is the way to approach things. That's the way to move. But yeah, let's see what happens. I think Alexander Isak, as I'm basically saying, man, if this is a guy that's available this summer, because Newcastle don't secure CL football, you now have the possibilities to make things happen. I don't want to kill off any hopes right now because we're just panicking, and then that option opens up and then he goes somewhere that's not here. You know what I mean? So yeah, I guess I agree with Isak, but Kvaratskhelia, I think he's a great player. If we signed him, I'm not going to be upset, but I feel like, you need to assess what the attack does first. And I have this trauma from all the squad block issues in the first January window under Clear Lake. We completely undermined everything. I think people don't really realize how much we messed up things ourselves. It's taken us at least 3 windows to try and correct those mistakes, from overpaying, buying the wrong profiles, doing so much damage for no reason, that I don't want to be in a situation where you've got Kvaratskhelia alongside Sancho, Felix, and Kunku doesn't leave. You have all these guys. I mean, you already see Maresca's showing a reluctance to use certain guys off the bench. Yeah? What's adding another attacker going to do? And Maresca clearly is thinking, shit, maybe a midfield player, maybe more control. These are the things I want in my squad. So that's how I see things. But let's move on though to Charles Hanley. Yes, bro. If you could select one realistic signing for us to make, who would it be and why? Oh, that's a good question. You know what? But this is going to be a little spoiler for the video I've got planned. I should have released. I don't know. It's been hard to find the window to release it. I think Sunday morning when you guys are waking up might be the best time. I'm going to put this out there to you guys as a little bit of a spoiler in advance, but I might consider making a move for Philip Mateta, actually. As I was saying, once upon a time, we really profited from turning towards PL experienced strikers, Demba Ba, Loic Remy, Nicolas Anelka. They didn't cost an arm and a fortune. They all are French-speaking guys. And with Mateta, you're going to get a different plan B entirely, a different solution. This is a guy that doesn't need many opportunities to score. I'm going to ignore his scoring record this season. When you're at Crystal Palace and they're kind of been having difficulties, they've lost Odyssey XYZ, you know, you can't be using that against him. I'm going to look towards what he did second half of last season. He's a guy that can play around very good players. His contract expires next summer. If he wants to make an offer for Philip Mateta, it's not going to cost you a fortune. He's going to remain in London. And I think he's someone that offers us short-term quality boosts. And I think he would be like a smart addition. Because as I'm saying, I don't need any like crazy super buys right now. I don't need to accelerate, you know, transfer plans from the summer to right now. I want someone who can give me guaranteed quality, give me that plan B, take pressure away from the team. You know, when we don't get points, we have to lose this notion that it's beautiful football. It's, you know, playing 10 out of 10 from the first minute to the last minute. No, not in this Premier League. It does not work like that, Think about all the times we won under Conte, Mourinho, and all these other managers. We used to win ugly. We used to grind out in the end. We used to play smart, We've seen glimpses of Maresca trying to introduce certain things. What was that recent game? I think Spurs, right near the end. We wasted 8 minutes in added time. Flipping out, Chelsea teams last year would have been going for the 5th goal, for God's sake. They would have gone for the 5th goal and potentially conceded and got caught on the break. We need to just manage what we do better. And I want to see a midfield player who can compete defensively, give assurance alongside what we have. And I want a striker, preferably a bit of a unit, a bit of a big guy. Someone that knows that, you know, he might not be your number one, but he's not going to play like he's a number 2. He's going to take every opportunity. I think that's what Philip Mateta does. And I actually think alongside all the great quality we have, I can imagine situations where, last 10 minutes of the game, the team's under a bit of pressure. You just play it long straight to Mateta, you know? Like, even though Achimpong and Cole did quite well against him, you can't contain Mateta from the first minute to the last minute. You just can't do that. And look at the goal he scored against us near the end, This is who I'm going for. I'm curious about what you guys are saying in the comments about Philip Mateta. But I think he's the type of guy that I like to see. I think short-term quality, you don't have to worry about moving him on a year or two from now. You know what I mean? He's come here to do the job. He's not going to cost a fortune. And you know this is a guy that knows how to score in the Prem. He's scored against nearly every Prem club, nearly every single one. He knows what to do in this league. Rich money makers, you're thinking of Chris Wood. A little bit of that profile. I think that's what we need. Something a bit flipping different to help us secure CL. Be strategic, be smart, then spend that money in the summer. That's how I see things. Who am I going to answer? Ian O'Sullivan, how you doing, man? Yo, Nini, hope you had a good Christmas. In my opinion, we really need to focus on a world-class centre-back, even if high price, so that we can create a real partner for Levi with Fofana's constant injuries. That makes sense. I feel like it might be hard in this window. I think Guy is like probably the most attainable option, and that's still going to take a bit of groundwork. But then ideally, you're thinking about the summer, right? And again, are you going for a more experienced guy or someone who's pre-peaking, or like another wonder kid, Diamande guy who, listen, he'll be another guy in the next 2-3 years, could be like a big guy in the Prem, but he's going to need a bit of time. You know what I mean? It's an interesting one. I think Guy is probably a smart addition. I want to release analysis reaction video on him because I feel like he might not be the sexiest name, but this is a thinking man's defender. There's a little bit of a Cavallo I see in Mark Guy, actually, where it's not about needing to be 6'5", for God's sake, or 6'3". You know, there's an important thing in football, and it's called technique. And technique is used in every aspect to gain an advantage against your opposition. If you're a Colossus in the air, you don't have to be 6'7", and you don't have to jump like Michael Jordan, yeah? If you know how to disrupt your opponent, if you know how to time your jump, if you know how to anticipate and preempt the danger, you don't have to be a unit to be very good in the air. So I feel like maybe I have to let people know about Marc Guéhi a little bit, because you might not agree, but he's a thinking man's defender. And I like the thinking man defenders, like in your Thiago Silva being our last one, Carvalho being a very famous example. They weren't the biggest guys, yeah, but my God, they can flip in defense, yeah, they know how to defend, and I see that in Marc Guéhi. I think that's why he found himself in the national team in the Euros. That's why he had a very great partnership competing there, and I do think that if you're able to get him for around 40-45 mil, that is a pretty decent price for a guy who's 25 years old and is closer now to, you know, being on that level. I mean, if you guys have been watching me for years, you would have known I've always been a fan of Guéhi since before his loan spell at Swansea. I used to get clowns. I used to say, listen, this is a guy that's going right to the top here, because I've just seen his temperament, how he plays. He's a very smart, high IQ player, and I think he'd be a very shrewd addition if we're able to get it through. Run up the super chat, bro, people. I love, man. Moritz, Mateta also has the height we desperately need to work on our poor dead balls. You know, sometimes you need to find a plan B. You need a different outlet and a different weapon. It makes it harder for the opposition to contain you. It gives you support. It can help players as well too. How many delicious flipping crosses have we played throughout this season? Yeah, Neto has played some incredible ones. There was that one cross against Arsenal, but he did like he held up the fullback for like a good 30 seconds, and then with like no backlift, plays like one of the best crosses I've seen in a while across the goal. No one can take advantage of that. Madueke now, he's learned how to put the in-swinger in. Reece James is going to be back, for God's sake. Who's taking advantage of the fact that we have many great crosses in this team? Too many great crosses, and no one's there to take advantage of it. That has to be addressed, in my opinion, yeah? Assad, you know his family Nini. Sorry, bro, I think I completely just missed the context. Jackson, your take on Scavini. Bro, I can't give you the most up-to-date take, I'll be honest with you. I know Atalanta are doing bits this season in Serie A. Oh, big up Ademola Lookman. You want to talk to me about Lookman? I can say something. Scavini, I know this guy is a massive talent. Again, another youngster. I think he plays on the left-hand side, right? I don't know. I feel like, my God, when you've got Jimpung and Somino and Colwell, I mean, I think we're kind of all right in terms of... I don't need a back line of like 5 wonder kids, for God's sake. It doesn't even work in Football Manager. You always end up selling 2 or 3 of them, at least in the end, right? He's a great player, but again, being a great team, it's not about having the best players in each position. It's about finding the best players who fit your way of playing. That's the most important thing. And you know what? There was a manager who I just feel who is not getting enough respect as time goes on. And his name is Sir Alex Ferguson. Yeah. People at the time, when he was turning towards using 37-year-old Giggs and Scholes, when he replaced Antonio Valencia, when he replaced Ronaldo with Antonio Valencia, when Park Ji-sung came in, when Chicharito came from absolutely nowhere, people were baffed. Every season, this is the season United are going to collapse. This is the season. It never happens. Why? Because Man United's every 3-4 years, Sir Alex Ferguson would shift the focus of the team in terms of how they're going to play and what they're going to do. And that's how they were able to consistently compete and not face these down periods that many clubs are susceptible to, outside of Real Madrid, who got things absolutely right to move on from Ronaldo. But it shows that you don't need to have the very best. You need a squad that complements completely your idea and vision. And I think a famous example of this in recent seasons has been Inter Milan and Simeone and Zaghi. A team fully built in that image. When Lukaku left, Marcus Thuram came in, you know. They always have like 3-4 strikers of, you know, one's always experienced, like an Edin Dzeko, give you short-term relief. The wing-backs are always on point. This is what I mean. And I feel like it's only this season under Maresca we're starting to gauge a little bit of an idea behind, okay, what is this Chelsea identity for the new era set to be? It's still not finalized, it's still not complete, but we need to commit to what that style is and buy around that. It can't just be buying any hot name, any sexy name. It doesn't actually lead towards success, and you're not going to win anything. I mean, that's how I see things. Anyway, Jake Curran, hi NiiNii, I hope you're doing well. Are you going to see any games this month? I'd love to meet you in person. Keep up the good work, mate. Yeah, I want to try and get back to going to games, man. You know, I think one of my big goals this season is outsourcing more work, trying to get more hands behind the scenes, so I can free up my time to go to games. And I mean, I was doing that all the time as I started the channel, but it just became impossible being able to go to games and then get videos out at the right time, because if your video comes out late, everything dies, and it's like you're not going to be able to run your business properly, you know what I mean? But yeah, hopefully it's going to come. But I also have other ideas for this year. I'm looking to, I'll let you guys know, because obviously if you guys are watching my stream, then you guys are probably like, you know, like you guys actually like me. So yeah, I can give you guys like, you know, ideas of what the future holds, right? But yeah, I want to kind of do like a live style interview series this season, just asking the public questions around Chelsea, you know, setting up the camera, getting a cameraman, going to Fulham, Broadway, West London, whatever. You're bound to find someone who's going to be a Chelsea fan. Doing a series like that, I think would be cool to like gauge everyone's opinions, right? I need to do a few fresh things now. I don't want to just keep doing the same formats with like, you know, reviews and news and stuff like that. I mean, I don't think in the long term it's gonna do much for me, you know what I mean? But Christoph, people read the description. We are doing live Skype calling. That won't be today. That's something I'm looking to also bring back on a more consistent basis. I did like doing it, but it was just the format. I just felt like, okay, people sending their super chats to participate, cool. Then you get like 50 ads, and it's like, I can't go through all 50 guys, can I? And then it's like, I'd feel guilty. So I end up being on the stream for like 3 hours, which is, I'm not Kai Senna. I'm not one of those guys, you know what I mean? So I still need to find the best way to incorporate that. I mean, today I had a meeting with a streaming startup company, and it did seem quite promising, but I felt like it was more promising for the future. They're still looking to, you know, improve their, not their IP, but improve their infrastructure. They're still looking to develop and code additional features that aren't here just yet. It's a bit like bare minimum at the moment, but it does have this really incredible feature that utilizes AI, which could really be sick for live streams in terms of like Sky Sports style, you know, in-frame analysis stuff, you know what I mean? So it's exciting, but yeah, I want to do the calling show, and there's potential to do that there, but they have to work on a few more things. So I'm hoping before the season ends that I'll be able to consistently do that, you know what I mean? But anyway, Carlos for NiiNii, why do you think no one is coming after Jonathan David? Crazy stats every year and still at Lille. I mean, that is a surprising one, to be fair. He's been very consistent. But maybe it's just more the profiler striker role that he plays. I don't think we need like another Jackson-esque type of figure if he's weaker, if he's not bringing a physical option or outlet, you know. I think we need a little bit of that, to be honest with you. I'm not too, even though he's a good player, I mean, would it surprise me if like the last week of the window we have no striker and then we decide to bring him in? It wouldn't. But then it makes me think then, but what is the point? You should maybe then be patient and wait for the summer to really splash big on a striker, you know? It's a very delicate balancing act, and I just hope we get it right. I hope we don't get desperate and overspend and over-recruit and just waste this time we always do in every window where, you know, at least like 5 to 8 players are just like fodder the directors are wasting their time sorting their futures out. They end up flopping at least 2 to 3 of them who can't get moves near the ends. And the cycle repeats again for the following window. It just, you're undermining everything. And, my biggest criticism of Clear Lake was always the fact that, they rush everything for no reason. Like, they scorched the earth and thought everything old has to get kicked out. And we're doing everything from scratch overnight. It was one of the stupidest decisions. We easily could have maintained some of the quality we had. N'Golo Kante, who was set to sign a contract extension, we keep forgetting until your Winsley and Co. decided against it. This is what I mean. He's the type of guy that is going to at least guarantee you, 3 to 4 points a season, right? Just from how he plays. So, I don't know. I always felt like they just did the most. We suffered from their hastiness. And there was enough that we had in consecutive squads where if we had just maintained a particular way of playing and then were more iterative in terms of how we developed the team, we could have still at least competed better, maybe got a CL, and set ourselves up for the future. So, I don't know. Anyway, Velan the Villain, thank you, bro, for that super chat. Did you see the ownership accelerate transfer plans in January with the view of having the players available for the Club World Cup in July? I think that's absolutely spot on, Velan, and you knew you were spot on. You just basically sent this super chat to show off how spot on you were. You know what I mean? But you're absolutely right. And also, on top of that too, the smaller details that go alongside your question. But there are possibilities to maybe go for your guys and other players in the market right now, which we're still exploring. I think the guy stuff that came out today from the Athletic, which I covered, is very promising. Very, very promising. And you feel like there's something's tangible now that could happen, especially with the revelation that bids of around £40 million could be enough now. And I think that's like a big thing, to be honest with you, because a club like Crystal Palace, they need to earn a profit. They need to make their money. They need to reinvest back in the team. Every Prem club is forced in a situation to abide by PSR rules where they have to sell so they can buy. So, Crystal Palace, if we do things right, let's see what happens. Could that be Chalobah deciding he's going to remain at Palace? I'm unsure. We'll see. Could we decide, you know what? No one's going to pay 40 million for Chukwuemeka. Like, who is going to pay 40 million for a kid who, even though he's very good, doesn't play? I mean, some of these valuations are so stupid sometimes. That doesn't make any sense. And it's a shame that we can't even just let this guy get loaned out. And then you think about him in the future. These types of moves where we splash big money on him, no consistency in developing him, and he's just discarded straight away. Same thing with Cassidy and a few of these guys. It's just like, what was the ultimate utility outside of book values and, I guess, getting small profits here and there which accumulate? But I mean, my God, but not Tottenham, for God's sake. This is a big club. We want to do big things, have a bit more ambition, you know what I mean? But I think the Club World Cup's going to be a massive opportunity. Hence why this season, securing CL is flipping important, because once there's confidence that's coming our way, the sponsors are going to be big. The sponsors are going to be going crazy for the Club World Cup. This is a massive marketing opportunity. So we can't fuck up January, We really can't mess it up. Anyway, Jamili, what's your ethnicity, Nini? That's a funny one. Like, I don't normally give too much of myself away online, to be fair, but I'm a little bit of a mix. But listen, I tend to say just half Ghanaian, half English. There's a bit of a story. I'm also a bit of Portuguese, and I'm also a bit of Scottish, which was a revelation that came out only a few years ago, when my dad actually found out that he wasn't full English, but he was actually half Scottish because his granddad's was from Scotland. But it's a long ass story. So I'm a bit of like a cocktail here and there, basically. Tim B, Demaza reports the Sassy wanted by Juventus. Yeah, I mean, it was reported earlier that, that's the player they were looking towards. That's why I didn't select him in my predicted lineup for tomorrow, because I just felt like, if you're getting Guy, that also implies someone is leaving. Realistically, that would be Disasi, who isn't really needed because he's a box defender, but Juventus are going to really use him. I wonder what that means then. Obviously, Arujo, Bremer. Is Bremer injured? I mean, I can't remember right now. Disasi, Yeah, they got some options at the back. What's his name, Gatti as well. The homegrown guy. They're gonna have a bit of a strong defense, Juventus. I need to stop saying as a transition, but I'm gonna answer some more questions. Sebastian Nini, who is your favorite sleeper player at Chelsea? A player who you really enjoy, but not many people admire. Mine is probably gonna be Carney. I wish this guy got more game time, baller. My sleeper player of the last few years, you guys are gonna hate me, but it would be Hakim Ziyech, because when I watched this guy at Ajax, I just thought this guy was, what a flipping player. He was translating it in the Champions League, putting in just wonder goals for the decade that you're not going to forget about, double digits for everything. When it came out that Lampard wanted him, I mean, I just foresaw the vision of Ziyech and Reece James down that right flank. Wow, that would have been a movie. But then he got injured in pre-season. Lampard then gets sacked, and then Tuchel comes in. And this is what everyone keeps forgetting, and it really annoyed me. He brought an entirely different system. Ziyech is playing flipping back to goal. He's not a back to goal type of player, for God's sake. Look at his skinny ass legs and skinny ass frame. We absolutely wasted a guy that was about to hit his prime. And this is the thing about how cruel the game can be sometimes. It's easy for us fans to clown him and be like, he was clearly never good enough. But no. Not everyone's Eden Hazard or Neymar or Messi. Not everyone's. There aren't many systemless players who don't need a system to be the best player. They can play in any team, any system, and shine. That is not the reality for 99% of players in the professional game, yeah. But Hakim Ziyech, used in the right way, this guy was a flipping weapon and an outlet. And yeah, I just felt like it was such a massive shame that we didn't even see a fraction of his real potential. And we saw hints and glimpses, the goal against Spurs. But yeah, I don't know. I don't expect everyone to watch stuff outside of our club. But yeah, it used to hurt me a little bit that people used to just not rate Ziyech and think he was a flop. And it was like, you don't get that he's not being used properly at all. But he would be my sleeper hit, to be honest with you. But I think in the squad right now, it's a good question in terms of a sleeper hit. Probably Nkunku. I think Nkunku, again, maybe it's just the issue. The guys I invest a lot of time into watching, they come here and then they just, the conditions don't open up for them to do what they can do. I think Nkunku, he's a sleeper hit for me, because what people don't get is that with certain players who are very smart, like very good, and Nkunku, he plays at different gears. That's what makes him special, because you got to think, opponents, you're gaining advantages against the opposition, to get that bit of space, to fool them, to enter spaces, blah, blah, blah. And Nkunku, he'll deceive you. He'll play at like gear 3 and you think, you got him contained. Then we've seen glimpses already, yeah? All of a sudden he's receiving a tight space. He's bombed past 2-3 players. He's just throwing this Messi-esque dribbling out from nowhere. And he's just, in an instant, he's just turned the speed up and made something happen. I think his finishing, in terms of the variety, the free kicks, left foot, right foot, the heading, this guy doesn't need a lot of chances to score goals. But yeah, for some reason, I really thought that Maresca, using the offensive 8, there was potential for Nkunku maybe to be used more consistently there. But he hasn't. This can happen in the game sometimes. You could have 10 different managers. Pochettino saw Nkunku as a star guy. He gets injured, he goes. Maresca comes, he thinks Palmer's a star guy. Completely just dismisses Nkunku and thinks that he's a luxury that isn't needed. I mean, that's the game sometimes. That's how cruel things can be. You need luck, you need timing, you need fortune on your side, you need a lot of things. But yeah, I also don't like the fact that this fan base doesn't really rate Nkunku as much, as if he's a dud. But I actually think this guy's a world-class player. And it just feels a bit surreal that he's just doesn't get a look in, because there's no real fit for him. So this is what I mean. If Maresca now, he's coming, he's doing his Italian thing, he's letting the directors know, listen, yeah, I know I got, half a quarter of a billion on the bench right now, but I'm not going to use any of them if I don't want to in my system, if I don't feel like they're going to add to what I need right now. So if you give him Maresca 5 years, maybe you got to sacrifice man sadly and commit to Maresca and get him the players he needs. Otherwise, we're not going to go anywhere anytime soon, because these directors, the flipping most, securing Nkunku in December, beating out all that competition for his services. How the hell can he be redundant because of your new hire now? That's the L on the directors, you know, when you're splashing that type of money on that type of talent, and there's no long-term future where you're thinking any manager's going to turn towards him. I think that's a massive L, to be fair with you. Velan the villain. Can you decipher what Maresca is doing in the presser? That is a very vague question, Velan. What exactly? I think maybe I get what you're trying to say. I think maybe he's, if you're referring to the defense, I think he's between the lines. He wants Mark Gurley. He respects Palace. He's not going to make that clear. He has to say he rates his defense in case Mark Gurley doesn't come through. But ideally, he wants Mark Gurley this window. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're accelerating things. Maybe he doesn't feel like he wants to use a Chimpong all the time. Maybe he feels like he doesn't want and Somino's ready yet. You know, he's still being assessed right now, you know. Maybe that's why he's not playing against Morecambe. Because let's keep it brutally honest here. Let's keep it brutally honest. He could play tomorrow against Morecambe. It's an excuse for Maresca because if Ansomino plays tomorrow, it means that he can't be loaned out. And Maresca doesn't want to have a bloated squad where you've got an additional centre-back that you don't need. I mean, actually, you want to get a more guaranteed source of quality to come in right now, shore up your defence, because you know you have to get Champions League football. He knows that. He's just, yeah, this is just media stuff. I understand it. I mean, listen, if I was a manager, I'm not going to take most media duties seriously. Every now and then, I'll say my piece. Most of the time, I'm just keeping people happy and I'm saving face. I get it. I get it. But I mean, that's what I see from Maresca right now. And I think you read between the lines because you always look at the actions. The actions speak louder than words. And I think the actions show that Maresca wants enforcement in January. As I said, and as we know already, he said he wanted a midfielder and a striker and clearly a centre-back as well too. But Velan again, thank you, bro. Is Guy and Corwell good aerially? I have doubts. I think Guy is very strong aerially. He's not Ibrahima Konate, who you might argue is probably the best aerial defender in this country, right? I mean, Konate is, yeah, he was born to defend in the air. Let's keep it real. But I was mentioning this point earlier. Mark Guy, for me, is in that Carvalho mold, a defender. He's a smart guy. IQ, technique. You know, to be good aerially, you don't need to be 6'6". You don't need to jump like Michael Jordan. It's about anticipation, reading the flight of the ball, knowing how to use your body to unsettle. And, I mean, let's look at his game against us recently. I think someone actually released a player comp of his performance. I mean, you know, this is a guy that is very strong aerially because he listen, if Mark Gay was shit aerially, this would have been known over the years now. Yeah, he is not. He makes a lot of aerial clearances. He's a strong competitor. I think he's good. And listen, you have to realize Levi Cole's 21. Wait for him, let him grow. Like this is like my frustration sometimes because, you know, I'll hear like maybe ex-pros or players, because they play the game, they understand how this stuff works, and they understand, okay, if you've got like bare 22-year-olds and 23-year-olds and 21-year-olds, I mean, what squads in the history of football have had players that young all together at once and they've won something? Well, Ajax in 95, you know, there's not many examples of that unless you're doing it in much weaker leagues. Sadly, patience is needed, and I feel like we have to know how to afford that sometimes. And I keep saying, how many centre-backs are as good as Levi Cole right now? I mean, he ranks as the highest for passes in the league right now, which shows you that this guy is your first phase defender that kickstarts moves you up the field and does all that good stuff. He's shown some great defending. He's also shown some inexperience with some positioning sometimes, maybe forcing a challenge more than he has to. But he's 21 years old, and I don't know. I'm you know, I saw John Terry back in the day developing. I saw your Lampards. If people had seen Terry and Lampard at 20, 21, 22, I mean, they were getting written off already, and I remember that when I was young. But you would never have foreseen the players they became in the end. And I don't. That's the whole point of what we're doing, is that we know a lot of these guys, some of them, they are going to be that caliber of player in the future. And I think Levi Colwill is. So you have to give him minutes. You have to let him grow. You have to let him develop. And I think it's just that simple, in my opinion. I think Levi Colwill's a great centre back and one of the best for his age, actually. I mean, people name me 5 20-year-old centre backs who are better than Levi Colwill right now playing at this level. No one can do that. Jamek smiles. And Nkunku's problem is that he gets bullied in the EPL. But that's because Nkunku's playing back to goal and stuff all the time. You know, you got to use players correctly. He's not that type of guy. And another thing he suffers with is that people, because he's not consistently playing with anyone, people don't get his disguises. People don't get how he plays yet. They don't get his like combination play stuff as well. I see that a lot. And another thing I see a lot is that when Nkunku finds himself in a great freaking scoring position, no one finds him. No one plays the pass to him. Like, this is how he was making his bread and butter at Leipzig, by ghosting in like this to world-class levels. No one clocks that in this team. And I find it very frustrating, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm not doing... This is what we said about Hakim Ziyech. He's a lightweight. Why are you using a lightweight to be backing into defenders, holding the ball up to receive? I mean, that's just stupid, no? But moving on, Mazza. It's a Mazza. Getting Mark is a better left centre back than Colwill, but you won't see that. We see Colwill struggle in the wide spaces instead. I mean, struggles are it's a very strong word. I think a realistic word is he's not perfect. He's not perfect. He isn't. I'm not gonna be saying Levi Colwill's mastered the game already. He has not. But this is what I mean, man. Maybe it's myself and my personality. I like to see the shades of stuff. I talk in shades. You know what I mean? It's not just black and white. Sometimes it's a bit grey. Sometimes it's a bit like darker. It's a bit lighter. You know what I mean? That's how you really like find out what's really going on. But yeah, I'm not getting this thing that I'm seeing from certain men in the fan base around Levi Colwill. Bro, I just think it's nuts. And it just tells you that you don't know what kids are doing at the same age in Europe and in the league. You know what I mean? You don't know what's going on. Jake Kuran, yes, Jake. What is the latest speculation on Mainu to Chelsea? Now, unless something's been released at the time of me making this stream, the only things that we knew is that, of course, we did have a conversation with his agent. We don't know the full severity of that, but I'm going to guess and gauge based on the fact that credible sources at the Times and the Athletic, you know, not like Vikash.net reported the story. It does kind of lead to the suggestion that, you know, put little feelers out there to see if something could be tempted. Now, if Kobe Mainu doesn't sign a contract right now, are we putting feelers out there for a potential sum move? I mean, it did say that if an opportunity really was like concrete in January, we would definitely explore that. In my personal opinion, I don't really understand why. I think Kobe Mainu is, again, for 19, he's very good. But he's the type of talent where is he going to be more like a Jack Wilshere or is he going to be like a Seedorf? I think it really is, like, it's just not a guarantee right now. I think even though he's composing the ball, receives in tight areas, plays with confidence, can assert himself from the field, is he implementing the game all the time? You know, I thought a lot of the stuff he did was sideways. No one really clocked onto that. I think for Man United as well, he doesn't really demonstrate an expansive passing game. That will improve once he hits his like early 20s, I'm sure. But I think for me, like the idea of Mainu and the reality is just not quite the same. Even though this kid is a sick player, let's not get it twisted. You know, he's not sick to that point where he's like a Joao Neves. You know what I mean? You know, this guy's he's running the midfield at Paris Saint-Germain. Yeah, I feel like Mainu's getting discussed like he's on that same caliber when he isn't. Like, close to Lace Neves's boots, in my opinion. You know, that's a midfield player that says, this is my midfield. You know what I mean? Mainu can do that. I think he's benefiting from the fact that United, you know, if you're going to have a ball-winning midfield player, you need someone that can keep it and also has legs. They've needed that guy for a very long time. It's crazy that they haven't had that. But I just personally think that Mainu, if I was him, I'd stay at United, develop more, and, you know what I mean, play the long game. Yeah, I'm surprised by that news, and I think when you've committed to flipping Lavia and Caicedo and Enzo, and you've got Santos, and when you said Ugo Joko can be Tchouameni, My God, you don't need 6 midfield players in your squad for God's sake. Like, come on, let's be realistic now. Brett White. You man, I'm gonna save the next maybe like 10 minutes because it's gonna be 12, and recently all I'm doing is just working out, gym, cooking, and cleaning. It's very much a monk mode lifestyle at the moment. My missus, my future missus, obviously, I know that I had to put a ring on it. She's abroad right now for like the whole month, so it's helped me just start focus on what I want to do. Yeah, no distractions. Like I'm even thinking I might just go bummy this whole month, not even get a haircut, and maybe get that as a reward end of the month. I'm just here to just work hard at the moment. But yeah, but I kind of went off tangent then. I just kind of lost my mind. But yeah, I'll be here for the next 10 minutes and I'm going to bounce. So if you guys want your question prioritized, you want me to sound a bit longer, you know what to do. Show some love with the super chats. But anyway, Brett White, do you think the signing of Palmer killed Nkunku in the team? As I think everyone would pick Palmer ahead of Nkunku to play behind the striker. And what system could you see them both working together? I mean, that's the thing, right? I think Pochettino was kind of showing that there was a possibility for them to play together. I think his idea involved the inverted fullback playing more traditionally in the middle, right? And that would have been Nkunku on the left, Palmer right. You got Madueke, and then you have Balance out wides on the left. And who was the option for us last season? If I go on SofaScore real quick, what was that the lineup like against Brighton? Like when Nkunku scored. I know he came on as a sub in that game, but how did we end that game again? What lineup ended that game? Chelsea, Brighton, 1, 2. Okay, Leslie Sterling. All right. But yeah, so like under Pochettino, like the inverted fullback really inverted, and he had to have like a real runner alongside Moises and Conor Gallagher to just make up for that attacking, from the lack of pressing from the attack. Even though that they can, and Nkunku's a good presser in packs. I feel like with attacking players, he's not going to track back. He's not good at doing that side. But when it comes to like a cohesive press where you're hunting in packs to close down the opposition, I mean, he was doing that at Leipzig and he was leading the line doing that. So he can do that. But I think because we don't have like a Gallagher, who was a pretty unique profile for us last season. I mean, he was putting in the most kilometers every season. He's the fittest player, I'd probably say, top 3 fittest players in the Premier League. And, that is a big claim to say because, I mean, there's a lot of like athletic freaks in this league. There's a ton of these athletic freaks in this league. But yeah, I think to make it work, you need those types of conditions, right? And obviously we don't have that now. Enzo isn't Gallagher, like with that type of intensity, especially coming back. So, but now that Enzo's got like a main focal point in the team, because he brings a bit more balance, that's why Maresca has him and Palmer crashing the books. I think Enzo's the real reason why Nkunku isn't actually in the team, because Nkunku is more offensive in that capacity. And Enzo is more balanced. And I think Maresca himself actually said, Enzo is like the only profile I have that can play in both boxes. And he could argue he's correct. I think Chukwuemeka could, but he just will never get the game time he needs. But yeah, as I'm going to say again, I think it's actually Enzo that killed Nkunku's career here. But I still think it's a shame that Maresca hasn't even utilised it at times as like an option off the bench. Like when he has turned to Nkunku, it's been to play him up front. And I think you're really just wasting a lot of his qualities and talents that way. But then I feel like maybe he has to do that because he doesn't feel Gu was ready. And he doesn't have like a serious backup to Nico Jackson. Maybe if there was like that number 2 competition striker, maybe Maresca might decide, you know what, Nkunku can be playing there. But then what did we do? We then forced the signing of Joao Felix because, we tried to, understandably, we tried to, renegotiate the Amora Dion. The Amora Dion deal. Because obviously Porto signed him for 50% of his economic rights. And I think maybe once that came out, we probably thought to ourselves, why the hell are we going to commit paying this amount of money when we could literally buy half his economic rights off you guys right now. Aleti, out of principle, said no. Obviously, FC Porto were like a fresh club in the negotiations. They said yes to them. But I think that it then forced us into, we have to get Gallagher off the books. We're that desperate to do that for some reason. Because, I mean, no, not for any reason. We had to get rid of him because Gallagher didn't sign a contract extension. He felt like the offer wasn't good enough. He's earning a way better offer at Aleti that kind of values everything he did last season. So I like to paint that the story in the picture to understand how we get certain scenarios with things. You know what I mean? And I think this is how everything essentially conspired against Nkunku, and this is how he became ostracized and became a replaceable guy, which is crazy, to be honest. Like in a different alternate universe, we've secured the Amora Dion thing, or we secured a deal with Gallagher. Listen, we tried to offload Gallagher to Villa, but Duran coming the other way. Same thing with Atleti with Amora Dion coming the other way. We flopped that, and then we were forced near the end of the window to have to, I guess, find the best second place alternative, which was Joao Felix. Because I get the impression that Winston Lee is just in love with this guy. I know some reports came out suggesting that there was hopes that Maresca could make sense of him and get the best out of him. But I think Felix, he has to also do that for himself now, for God's sake. And, you guys know, if you've been watching me, that, Felix is like, I used to ride for this guy, But, you mature, you get older, you have to accept the reality of what these guys are. And I think, listen, Felix hasn't been bad. But it's just, you just always feel like you're not getting the full Felix effects, that full Felix force. You know what I mean? There's always a little something that's not there. It's a weird one. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, second half of the season he steps up big now. We have to see. But, all these little details conspired against Nkunku. And it's a shame because this is a solution with our scoring. But he doesn't have that position to really make it happen. I mean, I don't know. It's a weird one. It's a bit of a shame sometimes that we haven't even seen him and Nkunku together because... there was actually a bit of promise once upon a time last season between himself and Nico, but I don't think Maresca's tested them both out in the field once together. And just little details like that where I think, listen, Maresca, you probably could like, introduce Nkunku a bit better into this team. If you do things a little bit differently here and there, I don't know. I think you could also even think about using Palmer on the right flank sometimes. Mix Palmer up a little bit. Like he was also doing bits on the right flank. You know what I mean? Reece James is back. Gusto's here. I don't know. Like, yeah. I know I'm giving a long ass answer. But I don't know why my nose is like getting blocked up like crazy right now. It's actually getting really annoying talking. I'm going to be on 5 more minutes, you guys, and I'm going to bounce. I'm going to give you 5 extra minutes. Philip, how is the wedding planning? Actually, we're looking at venues abroad. I've always felt like abroad weddings are the best type of weddings. For me, I want to do like more of a hidden gem location. I'm not going to tell you guys where we're looking at, but we're not looking at bait places like Portugal or Cyprus or Greece or anything like that. But yeah, we're looking at some very like the hidden gem areas. Like, come on, man, the economy's fucked right now. Everything's hella expensive. And a broad wedding probably works out even a bit cheaper than doing the same wedding here, which is just absolutely crazy, right? So, my sister got married in Lake Como, as you guys know. Yeah, probably one of the best weddings I've ever been to. It was just, she absolutely smacked it. Absolutely smacked it with the planning and the hosting and the venue and the location and just like the mood and the vibe. Yeah, it was, it made me see my little sister a bit differently, actually, Like, it was like one of my first times like properly seeing her life and her friends and everything that she does and what they do. And it was a really, really special wedding, I have to say. But you guys aren't here to hear about that. You're here to have your questions answered. I'm going to go through a few right now. Alexander Nini, how do you think Paez and Willian will fit into Maresca's team? I think Willian, right flank. I wouldn't be surprised too if you see him on the left flank as well. Watch that space. Paez is looking like he's going to be a straight loan. And it's not very reassuring for Paez that if Nkunku and Felix are struggling to get in the team, what hopes does Kendry Paez have? If it was Pochettino last season, there'd be a lot bigger hopes. Under Maresca, I'd be very surprised. Manor, do you believe Delph is a good business for us? Delap, yeah, I think Delap he is good business. I just don't think for January. I want to see what he does throughout the whole season. Yeah. Listen. If we did get him, I'll get it because Maresca worked with him. We have like half of Man City at Chelsea right now. We're trying to be Man City 2.0. He'll probably he knows the system. He'll probably integrate quite well, and he's a handful. But I don't know if options like Isak somehow open up in the summer and we can't go in for him because we've already committed. We're gonna look a bit silly. You know what I mean? Elia Flowers. I think if we don't get any striker in January, then Felix will come on for Sancho or Neto and then split Jackson to the left. I'm not using Felix up front, bro. I'm sorry, man. I get your idea. Maybe like a few years ago, I would have thought that, but not this Joao Felix. I don't think so anymore. If you have a Mateta up front with Felix, I get it, but this is what I mean. Some of these attacking guys would actually fucking benefit from having a big guy up front that they can play off from. You know, that's the type of strategic moves I want to see in January. That's going to help the team because it's not just about, oh, I'm signing a player that's rated 9 out of 10 and he's going to have an instant impact. No. Can we sign someone that can also get even more out from what we have? Like, that's what smart recruitment is about. You know what I mean? Tets, have you changed your mind on Amora Dion? I never said anything about him or Duran in the summer, actually. Let's see what happens. Obviously, doing bits up. I'm sorry. I'm expecting guys like that to be going to a weaker league in Portugal and banging goals against Maritimo and Santa Clara and Porto Menge and all these types of teams. I'm expecting you to do that, to be honest with you. I think the reason why Djokovic is like so highly revered now is that he's making these guys like fools in the league because he's outscoring his appearances. I think anytime you see a player scoring more in games he's playing in, then you're thinking, okay, not only is this guy, okay, this guy is really good, and this is more of a sign that his skill set is translatable in the Prem. But, you know, I mean, that's how I see things. Alexander Nini, how do you think Pires and William will fit into? Okay, I think I answered that already. Manna, do you believe? Yep, answer that. Inner out, explorer, hi Nini. Love the honest approach you bring to Chelsea commentary. Thank you for that, man. I don't think everyone always gets that. I feel like it can be a bit frustrating. You guys get my communication style because I'm sure you guys probably like think the same way. You understand the perspective. I don't think everyone does though. That's why I'll be called like toxic positivity or being too positive or just dumb stuff. And it's just like it's not about positivity. It's about not just seeing things like through here all the time. You know, once you realize that you can take that away, things start to open up. Yeah, appreciate that, man. Thank you. Do you think we should sell Nkunku? I mean, it feels like it'll be sold. I mean, you know, Felix is forcing the sell. The directors will do everything in their power to, you know, not sell Felix, and for God's sake, outside of Aston Villa, will probably take a punt on him. But I don't know who's going to sign Felix if he doesn't make it here with us, realistically. Maybe Benfica, who actually links with him, he's going to go back on. They're the only moves to Felix. If he doesn't make it here, he's going down another level, and he's playing for clubs like that. Yeah, I think there's no new questions right now. TXL Fossil, hello. Congrats on your engagement. Thank you, man. Rank between the three of who's best with Chelsea squad right now. Osimhen, Isak, or Djokovic? That is a very, very good question to end things on. Unless someone wants to throw a little cheeky super chat in, but I feel like I'm like one of these like cam girls. I can't be asking for super chat. Sorry, man. I'm not talking for that. But TXL, it's a hard one. Djokovic, he brings that physical edge, you know, like a Swedish Delap, I guess. Maybe Delap is like the affordable British version of Djokovic. You know, I feel, again, a lot of strikers that score in the transition moments, you know, you're not going to always get those opportunities when you're here. You know, that's the reality of things. Maybe we need someone who's got more versatility in his finish. Not that Djokovic doesn't have it. I mean, again, even that game against Arsenal when they lost 5-1, he was still causing, like, danger to their defence. And he's got that Delap in him where he shoots with power and he shoots accuracy, and he's going to force a save. And I like that you force a save. It's a mental battle sometimes. You have to put pressure. We don't always have to. How often recently, for God's sake, are we not even getting efforts on target when we're in grey areas? That's been one of the poorest things in our game recently. So I can see why when you go towards like an expert marksman who at least is going to hit the target. Yeah, I can understand that. But if I had to pick out of all of them, I'd probably say it's like, I think the fact that he's scoring for fun in the Prem, he scores every type of goal, has the additional like skill and flair that, you know, I've always thought the best strikers, you know, the ones that you remember in their generations, they have that little bit to their game. It would be Isak if I had to really go for that. But the funny thing is, I might sound crazy to you guys, but I also think Nico Jackson, by the time he gets to Isak's age, when he's 25, 26, I think Nico could be doing some very like big things. And you have to think seriously, you know, you've given him like nearly a year and a half, and you've already seen a big improvement in this season compared to last season. Obviously, he's not the finished article, so we can't be expecting a goal every game that he plays. But after he's shown so much promise at the moment, do you just completely write him off right now? And just like waste all the effort you put into it? I think it's a fair question, and I think the club will think, do we go for an upgrade, or do we go for someone that could compete alongside him, and we get the benefit of not spending a fortune on strikers, and then probably finding that number one in the end. Because if you sign Delap, I don't think it'll cost you like 60 or nothing crazy. Nico came for a bargain in today's market around like 30 million. And remember, we overpaid the release clause, and we're paying for him in like bare minimum amounts every year. And he's not on a big contract whatsoever, Nicholas Jackson. So, you know, we're getting some good things from him. And it's just like, do you get all the foundational work you give to Nico because of a few games where actually maybe he'll benefit from having actual competition around him? And that's going to be the next way to elevate his game. So a lot to think about, honestly. It's not an easy one for the owners. But yeah, my friends, I don't know what's happening with the stream. I feel like things may be lagging a little bit now or something. I'm actually seeing myself on my end. So it's probably the best time for me to bounce and keep it moving. So yeah, if you guys can still hear me, thank you to everyone who's shown love on the stream, you know, sent their super chats, I got involved, stayed right from the, you know, hit from the start right to the end. Much love, appreciate that. Stay tuned tomorrow, of course, when actually come back for my watch along stream, and yeah, have those notices on for all things Blue Line CV, man. So you guys, I'm gonna bounce right now. Probably just gonna chill for like half an hour, go to bed, because I've got an early start tomorrow. I need to do house cleaning because I like to live in a clean environment. Then I have to go gym before the game, and then I've got the game, and my friends are coming over tomorrow, and I'm cooking tomorrow. So I'm actually making fried chicken. So I've got all my chicken pieces in the buttermilk right now, marinating. I like to cook. You know, that's one thing you guys don't know about me. I do like to cook, and I've always actually thought sometimes it'd be pretty fun at some point in the season to do like a live stream QnA when I'm just like in the kitchen cooking up and just like doing regular shit in my life. So if you guys want to see a bit more regular NiiNii, let me know. But yeah, it's so weird. The audio's lagging. I don't know what's going on right now. I mean, I do know what's going on right now. My version in my area, there's a lot of connective difficulties. I've had a lot of issues in terms of upload speeds and a lot of things right now. So that's